Hello, everyone. This is Chala, CEO and founder of The Repositioning Expert, coming to you live with another Tuesday Tea Time with Chala. Let me take a sip. This time it was so hot that I left the top off. It's still so hot. Oh, okay. Well, today we're going to talk about fear of the phone phobia. It's become a thing. I actually posted about it in LinkedIn where I saw it in an article, and I just found it so intriguing and so true in my clients' businesses, both internally and in terms of outreach, which is the sales and marketing, which is what I do. But it's become so ridiculous that anyway. So the stat is that 81% of millennials get anxiety before they have to make a call. But the stats are even worse, and I don't have them, but for younger generations who are coming into the workforce. And in fact, now employers are having difficulty reaching their own internal staff and departments because nobody picks up. And, there are so many alternate ways of communicating, but nobody will talk on the phone. So internally, there's, Zoom and Slack and email and text and DMs, and there's just so many ways of not talking to someone that it's really it's really difficult for a business trying to, communicate. And it leads to a whole bunch of communication errors. In fact, in the article, it mentioned that one of the bosses, and I think it was a property management company, and they were trying to reach their own employees in their own departments, and nobody would pick up. And what they did is they started resorting to Loom videos. And Loom is just a software. It's an app that you can, just film it directly from the screen, and it generates a URL without having to save, download, and then upload a file, an MP4 file, which is a movie file. So it just goes straight to a URL, which you can then send as a link. So when bosses resorted to doing this internally to reach their own departments, they had a 40% response rate, which apparently was much higher than voicemail. So that just goes to show you that phone phobia truly exists, and it's hurting businesses. If you can't even talk to your own people, imagine what it's like when you're trying to call strangers, and what it's like for those strangers to actually answer your calls, right? And in the same article that I posted, it mentioned that phone phobia is such a huge thing that an expert who specializes in coaching employees on how to overcome phone phobia, her rates have gone, there's so much demand that her rates have gone from $1,800 a day to $3,000 a day, which is phenomenal. Like in the coaching world, first of all, ace is on her for niching so tightly that she's known as the phone lady. Actually, I looked her up, and she's right here in Canada in Halifax, she's in my network. So amazing her. And she's been quoted in so many American magazines and articles. It's unbelievable. So that's what niching does for you. And then how niching in a very specific pain can actually skyrocket your fees. So good for her. And so why do we need the phone? Why don't we just let it die a natural death? Well, by every research, personal touch always converts more, or always convinces more, always is more influential. So, not being able to see the person face to face, a phone is the next best thing to the personal touch, which is different than all the other, means of communication, which is through the screen, through the texting or some other way. So it's always more effective in terms of human connection, communication, and team building, and persuading and overcoming objections. Now, the other reason why we still need the phone is I love it in terms of outreach because nobody's doing it. A lot of people are resorting to all these other things, but not a lot of people are actually doing it and doing it well. So you stand out, and anything that stands out in marketing is gold. The next piece that I put is nobody is doing it well, meaning I love to put it together with a combination of other methods, and I'll talk about that later. But that's really when you get the most mileage, because even if people don't pick it up, they have to listen to their voicemail as part of their job, right? Um, so then the other and most important reason why we need the phone is because people are zoomed out. Like they are just so tired, especially after the pandemic. But even after the pandemic, now a great majority of meetings are done on Zoom, and their thumbs are numb. It's called the numb thumb, right? They're just done texting, they're just done DMing, and it just doesn't have the same effect. So here are my tips. Now, I used to do this for a living as a student. I used to sell cemetery property over the phone. I used to be a telemarketer as my student job. I did it for many, many years as a student, made a lot of money because a lot of people either weren't willing to do it or afraid to do it, weren't happy to do it, but it was very, very lucrative. And I became very good at it. And it's actually probably become the basis of kind of my success of not being afraid of the phone, teaching people how not to be afraid of the phone, and teaching them some tricks. So one of the things that we had learned at the time was batch calling. So we would have breaks, and we would gather the intelligence, which the next point is you have to do deep research. And one of the things that I teach my clients is, what are we looking for? How do we find the actual person that we're looking for? How do we find the person responsible for the thing that we're looking for? So for example, if I'm asking my clients to call associations to speak at, they have to get in touch with somebody on a committee that hires the speakers, or somebody who is the program director, or there are ways of going onto websites and finding this information. Every piece of information is out there. You might have to pay for some of it in terms of names and emails and phone numbers, but it's out there. So when what you do is batch calling is you write down a whole bunch, and then you just do it back to back, and then you give it a break, you do more research, and then you write down the name and number of the person you're going to call with the script, and then you batch dialing for dollars, we used to call it. So batch calling and deep research are two of the ways to make it easier and better and more successful. Another thing that we use when we're calling is name dropping. Now, if you're calling someone internally, obviously you don't have to name drop, but when you're trying to do outreach, when you drop the name as you're speaking and leaving a voicemail or whatever it is that you're doing, or speaking live, which would be the best case scenario, you drop a name of someone they would know. You drop a name of an association that they belong to. You drop a name of an event they've gone to or are going to. You drop an event of a colleague that you've met. You name drop so that familiarity increases the trust. So these are some of the ways that you can actually feel more comfortable and lose the phobia while you're doing the talking. And if you prepare ahead with all these tips that I'm telling you, it's going to make it a lot more easy and a pleasant experience when you do actually pick up the phone. The other tip that I wanted to give you is, I totally understand that you don't want to actually live call, but the next best cousin really is a voice note. And we've been leaving voice notes. Now, Loom to me is the best idea because there's like face in at the same time, like it's a video. So what better to be able to give someone that, like your own face as you're talking and giving them a message. And that's why I do these lives, so that you still have the visibility. And Chala, this is who Chala is. It's not just a name on a blog. It's somebody who is a live, real person who's not generated by a robot or a computer, and actually has a couple of things to say, because I can sit here and talk to you about that. So Loom does that, but the next best cousin to that, if you're trying to overcome the phone phobia, is to leave voice notes. And there's many ways and places you can leave them, but one of them is social media. So we leave a lot of voice notes on LinkedIn. We leave voice notes on like Messenger. We leave voice notes, obviously your voicemails, and any other type of system that's being used internally, you could do the same and combine, like try to combine. Some people they would rather die than do video. So if you're one of those, you're going to have to go to the voice note. And as soon as I show a client how easy it is, it's just like leaving a voicemail. And if you have trouble leaving voicemail, just script it out and read it. That's all it is. Just script it out and read it. Okay, so the other tip that I'm going to give you that's going to make you lose your phone phobia is a technique that I use called the CMC, which is the call, mail, call. So this is how we sandwich an approach that's outbound to potential clients to try to reach them through multiple ways with a follow-up sequence. So we call and leave a voicemail or a voice note. We email them, and then we call. And in each of these stages, we're telling them when and how we're going to be following up. And then the last one is the CMC, call, mail, call. And the last one is we leave another voicemail or a voice note. So we find that this combination usually gets some form of response if the target is the right target and they have been approached with the right message. And then Bob's your uncle. You're happy that you're on the phone because you're actually getting traction. And then it's easier for you to do it next time and next time and next time. And pretty soon you turn around and you've lost your phone phobia, even though you're a millennial, Gen Z, or whoever younger that you might be, you might be in talking to or trying to reach. Okay, so the next tip that I want to give you around losing your phone phobia is tease with your message. Make sure it's a short one and make sure to say why, the why of why they need to call you back or listen to this message. So tease meaning, make it about something they'd be intrigued by and interested by. So the message is important, is what I'm trying to tell you. Is like use the messaging to hook an interest and to get them to sort of at least be able to listen to it. Now, how do you do that is the next tips are two tips are one is try to make sure, even if it's an internal call that you're making to a colleague, make sure that it's about them, something that they've been looking for, waiting for, some result that would influence them or affect them positively or negatively. Like make whatever message that you're leaving about them, make it brief, make it, concise and to the point and about them. Now, even better, if you can add a psychological trick, which we use in messaging all the time, which is 70% of humans make a purchasing decision in order to avoid pain. So not that an internal voicemail is a purchasing decision, but in a way you are buying their attention, that minute of their attention. So make sure that the message is around their pain, whatever way you want to do that. Okay. So I hope these are going to give you some quick hits on how to lose the phone phobia, because it is definitely hurting your business inside and out, internally and externally. And people are paying thousands of dollars a day to train their employees who, they're trying to convince to pick up the phone when the bosses themselves are calling them. So imagine the chaos if you couldn't reach, as many of your employees internally and prospects externally as you needed to run your business efficiently. And if there is a phobia, here in between your goals and your business goals and your staff, then these are some of the ways that you can avoid them. I hope that was helpful from somebody who comes from an era of telephones where there was nothing else and we needed to simply reach out, and this was it. And now those tactics are coming in handy because those are some lost art forms, and I am bringing it back for you this week. All right, I hope that helps. I will see you next week. Take care.